Another day in the life of patromotherapy. Today, we're going to discuss the writer Ayn Rand. And it's interesting to me how her name is spelled A-Y-N. As an American, I would think her name would be spelled A-N-N. What do you think about spelling?
Good morning, everyone. I don't know. I think if she was Russian, her name should have been different. Maybe Anna. I don't know. I have to Google it or Yahoo. But anyway, Ayn Rand sounds a little bit off, sort of like Dolly or Stiva in Anna Karenina of Tolstoy. But I'm okay with any name as far as, it goes for her.
Well, very good. Well, I remember when I first read Ayn Rand, I think I was living in Frankfurt, Germany, and I was in an advanced government class. So this was an American high school in Frankfurt where military kids, the children of Air Force, Army, Navy, Marines, and the American Embassy and British kids went to school. So the teachers were hired by an international system. So like the teachers we had were people who loved to travel, who loved adventure, and were pretty high power intellectuals. So I had a high school government teacher, and I guess, gosh, maybe I was 16 or 17, many moons ago. And what she was actually teaching, as I now look back on it, was political theory. But we read Atlas Shrugged, and we read George Orwell, and we read Das Kapital, and we read de Tocqueville, and we read the Declaration of Independence. So my introduction to Ayn Rand was when I was maybe 16, 17 years old, living in Germany and studying political theory. But I didn't know it was political theory at the time. I thought I was just in high school reading a book. How about you? When did you get interested in Ayn Rand?
Before I answer that, let me tell you that I found what her real name was, because Ayn Rand seems to be her pen name. And her real name was Alicia. I don't know how it spells how it sounds in the US, in English, Alice. And Alicia.
But you just said three different words. You said Alicia, Alice, Elise. What is the spelling of what you're looking at? How does she spell her name?
Well, in English, it would be A-L-I-C-E.
Alice. Like Alice in Wonderland. Okay, good.
Yeah, that was her real name. And then she took her pen name. I don't know when or how. And as for when I came across her books, that was a few years ago, I knew a person who sort of advocated the extremely egoistic way of life. And
extremely
I thought,
what? Wait a minute, I can't understand that word. Extremely what?
Does that make any sense? The word?
No, I'm saying I can't understand the word because you're saying it too fast. This person advocated the what way of life?
I don't know if there is such a word in English. Egoistic.
What is this? Nihilism.
Nihilism? No.
Are you trying to say? The problem is I can't understand the word you're saying because you go way of life. But what was the word you're trying to say?
Calm down. Do you know the word egoist, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So egoistic is somehow a derivative of this word, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess that person was an advocate of egoistic way of life. When
egoism.
Yeah, but how do you pronounce it when it's some
I'm saying egoism,
sentence.
egoism.
Egoism, way of life. I don't know if that's correct, but okay.
Egoistic. Okay, well, words.
Irregardless of what I've just said. Anyway, so the point is, from what I understood, I could be wrong because it's just me, that Ayn Rand stood for the behavior which somehow justify any action of an individual as far as it works for him personally, regardless of other people. It should work. It should be beneficial to the individual at hand.
Okay, let's just pause. Like all this is really good. We just gotta go slowly. Yeah. So I wanted to go back and ask you approximately. I don't know the date, but like, were you a teenager? Were you in college? Were you a young adult? Approximately, when did you come across Ayn Rand? A teenager, in college, after you were working? Like approximately, like I came across her when I was a teenager. When did you come across Ayn Rand?
Yeah, when I was 45 years old. So I was kind of past puberty, but still not very, developed. Yeah, okay, that was 45, I guess.
Some people never actually get out of puberty. It's called arrested development. I have, just a shout out to David Anton. He's in arrested development. And in terms of psychology, sometimes you get stuck at an emotional age when some emotional stuff happened to you. So I'm actually in arrested development too, and I'm 15 and I'm also 45. So, those are kind of big years. But I like to think about the title also. She wrote, many books, The Fountainhead, but the book I read was Atlas Shrugged. And to me, the word shrugged just means like, I'm just sometimes just kind of like shrugging. What should I do? What's a person to do? But also, if you think about the mythological figures, the Greek myths, Sisyphus was a Greek hero who was pushing his rock up the hill and it would fall down. And the next day he pushed it back up. Then Atlas carried the weight of the world on his shoulders. So the writings of Ayn Rand are quite deep. They're quite serious. And I felt that they were too serious for a 15-year-old, but anyhow, I read it and I think I made a A- on my book report.
Yeah. Can I say something?
Yes. Okay, I remember I've already had 2 cups of coffee.
Yeah, I know, because you sound so upbeat and full of energy. That's why I'm trying to keep up with you. But please calm down if possible, because I need to tell you this. Anyway, I thought, who is this person? I thought, okay, she wrote a couple of books, Fountainhead, I tried to read it, and Atlas Shrugged, I tried to read it too. No success. I'm trying to read it, and I'm like getting pushed back. I don't know how. It's not an easy reading, but I'm working my way through. And I thought, okay, let's just set the book aside for a moment and see what people say about her, because there is apparently a whole philosophy about Ayn Rand vision. She argues that the ideal world is like one where all men should follow their rational self-interest, regardless to other people. That's why I said egoistic way of life. I don't know if that's correct from the English.
Well, let me just pause a second. The way I have most heard her referred to as objectivism. She was born and educated in Russia, but she moved to the United States in 1926. And I have never, until you mentioned it, I did not know that her name was Alice O'Connor. And, but her, like you said, her pen name was Ayn Rand. And she was born in Russia in St. Petersburg, and she died in New York City. So she's a transplant.
Well, let's say expat.
expat?
Expatriate.
Okay, well, her pat is Russia, but she came to America.
Go on.
Well, Patros is like your country. Well, like, I don't know.
Okay. I don't know,
My
it's
daughter-
too deep. I didn't mean to confuse you.
I wasn't confused.
Maybe
No,
just
what I meant was like when my daughter went to law school, she was from Texas, and she went up to New York to NYU, and everybody in New York thought that Texas was like the show Dallas, you know, everybody on ranches, and they asked her if she had a horse, and she started trying to explain that Texas is a modern, you know, we live in the 21st century, and like we have high-rise buildings and we have bookstores, and so she kind of came up with the term Texpat, Texpat, like she's from Texas, but she's repatriated to New York. So you were reading about egoism or objectivism, and the idea is that a person should act in their self-interest, and is that good for the benefit of society, or is it good for the benefit of the self?
of course for the benefit of the self. She'll defines selfishness in a completely new way.
Yes.
Because you're kind of an altruistic, everybody is, sort of. It's a matter of degree, but she says, no altruism anymore, just selfishness. And that sounds a little bit over the counter, shall I say.
Over the counter, over the top?
Yeah. Extreme. Okay, let's replace. Let me rephrase it. That sounds extreme, right? Because it's a pretty loony view of the world.
Well, you know, I just have a news flash. I have to interrupt here. I've just gotten word that Alice O'Connor was not born as Alice O'Connor. She was born as Alisa Zenovenia Rosenbaum.
Yeah, because she was a Russian Jewish, I guess, origin. But that's not the point. O'Connor probably was her husband in the US, I guess, after she was.
Well, I mean, I think the fact that she's a Russian Jew is very important, like Marc Chagall and like so many people that came to the United States, fleeing from, from Europe.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I'm not saying it's not important. I mean, it's not important in terms of trying to understand her philosophy, because that's not specifically Jewish philosophy. Or
no, I mean, I know that I'm just looking at some notes here. She wrote Broadway plays. In 1943, she wrote The Fountainhead, and in 1957, she published her best-selling work, which is called Atlas Shrugged. And then up until her death, 1982, she turned to nonfiction and published her own periodicals and published her own essays. So she actually became a publisher. And if you're in New York, and you have a little bit of money, you can do that. And her husband's name was Frank O'Connor. You're right about that. She was not into faith, and she was not into religion. I wonder how that made her feel when she was
not into religion at all. She made her own religion, I guess. That's objectivism, I guess it is called. Reality objectivism, I don't remember, but it's something to do with objectivism. And it's named after Ayn Rand. And
yes.
Right? She's very, very, she advocated capitalism a lot. I don't understand why, actually. Maybe because the true selfishness she saw some true selfishness in capitalism more than in anything else, more than in any religion.
Because it exploits the workers. But I didn't realize. I knew that she was internationally well known, but I'm just looking at something here that says that her books have sold over 37 million copies. Now I'd like just to go over that number again. 37 million copies. We have about 70 subscribers. We need our subscribers to step up.
Hey, but when there are a few videos on YouTube, and I watched them, I guess a week or two ago, and but when I read The Fountainhead, I caught myself thinking, wow, this is beautiful English. I mean, if she was Russian, even if she lived in the US for a long time, her English is absolutely perfect.
Well, you know, she's living in the world of intellectuals where spelling counts and punctuation counts. And she goes to different parties where everyone's writing or painting or playing the piano. So when you're traveling in the world of intellectuals, then paying attention to the details. She wasn't just like a girl in an apartment, like writing some nice sentences. She was traveling in what I call the life of the mind. And I am excited because I think that she's such a brave person. It's like, you know, Simone de Beauvoir was the lover. I don't know if she's a wife of Jean-Paul Sartre, and you know, women who can speak their mind and do their own writing and do their own thinking is, you know, is still sort of a novelty. I mean, it's still kind of a man's world. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, define the man's world.
A man is a guy who's born with a, well, you know what a man's world is.
Yeah, I know what man is. Man, hey, remember 2 years ago in the US, it was funny. I saw that, I guess, judge, I don't know, or attorney general asked somebody, what is a woman or who is man? And she couldn't answer. But I thought, well, I would have answered easily because woman is the opposite of man, or man is opposite of woman, right?
Well,
but when you say with a man's world, I think that's gaslighting and maybe a little bit racist.
No, wait a minute.
Or
Okay,
sexist.
let me bring in the facts. Okay, whoever owns the means of production owns the information. So who owns the publishing houses? Who runs the school districts? Who's in charge of the legal firms? Men still make the decisions in the United States of America and in Texas. So when I say it's a man's world, yeah, women are out there sort of trying, but women have to be twice as good as men to get anything done. You have to be twice as good.
No. I mean, can I disagree with you? Remember that old horror movie called Alien about spaceship, I don't know, beast from another planet? Have you ever seen it?
Like what year? There's like people are coming from
86, 91, I don't remember. Middle 80s.
I wasn't watching movie.
Yeah, well, anyway, the main character was a woman. And she was not the main character because she was a woman. It's just that because she was perfect for that role, right? So when you say that, if I say that she's a man,
What I mean is who wrote it, who produced it, and who bankrolled it. The people who have own the means of production have the power. That's all I meant. Like, I like men, you know, but I'm just saying generally, I believe it always was, is, and will be a man's world. And women just have to learn how to, you know, drink like a man and try to act like a lady.
I don't know. I mean, I really disagree with you. I know what you mean. I see your point. But still, what's your example of sexism in everyday life? Can you tell me?
Yeah.
Like you go to the store. Can you see that?
Wait a minute. You answered me. You asked me a question. So why don't you pause and allow me to have the stage for a few minutes instead of steamrolling me?
No, I was going to help you, but go on.
You were going to help me have my idea?
Yeah, I was going to help you to answer.
That's an example of it.
Okay. You do it yourself. I'm all ears.
Okay, so Ayn Rand went to Leningrad State University. And in the world of academia, quite often, even though men and women apply for tenure, that means like, you know, kind of full time with benefits, you know, quite often men are chosen over women, or, you know, a woman has to sleep with a guy to get something. I don't know. I'm just saying my world is academia, like universities and schools and colleges and books and stuff like that. And I know that you operate in the world of numbers and accountants and economists and stuff like that. Like, this is just a simple question. You don't have to go into too much detail. Have you had more women bosses or more men bosses?
Well, you'd be surprised. I had more women bosses, and I absolutely adore them. I
I
am
bet.
absolutely sure that women are just as capable as men are.
We're just as capable.
Yeah.
You didn't
Well,
say they're
maybe
kick-ass
almost
bosses.
capable.
You're just saying they're almost as capable as men. Okay, we have to like we have to like you know ratchet this down a little bit. And Ayn Rand has been very very popular, and in Dallas and in many places in the United States, there are these little groups you can sign up for called Meet Up. So you meet up on the topic of gardening, or you meet up on the topic of cocktails, or you meet up on the topic of philosophy, or you meet up on the topic of Russian literature. And I signed up for a meetup once, and it was I don't know if it's called Liberal Thinkers of Dallas or what exactly it was, but it was these women, some women just trying to meet guys under the GUISE, the disguise of running a philosophy group. So I don't know. I mean, people get together to discuss different ideas, and that's what we're doing here in Petroma Therapy.
Yeah, and
Also,
while we're on it,
go ahead.
no, while we're on it, I was going to say that Ayn Rand reminds me of Nietzsche because he was too absolutely opposite, I guess, maybe wrong, to everything good, to everything I believe in. And Ayn Rand sort of taking over, maybe not as harsh as Nietzsche said, but taking over his
Well,
idea.
I'm just going to put Ayn Rand in perspective. So, in general, I've heard her philosophy called objectivism, and she had some ideas about homosexuality and gender roles. She personally viewed homosexuality negatively, considering it immoral and disgusting. And she thought that homosexuals in public or in the government, should be not discriminated against. But personally, she was against it. And she said that that it was immoral and it was disgusting. So that kind of makes me feel like she's not being very kind or very thoughtful, and kind of a
Well,
bitch.
maybe, I mean, I've just mentioned two books, I guess fiction novels, right? But I know that she's written a number of others, which I haven't read. But maybe in those ones, the smaller ones, less famous, she said something about, she explained what morality is and what isn't. Maybe I should look there closer. It's a matter of opinion anyway, right?
Yes, everything's a matter of opinion, and like we all come out of a context. We're born in a certain country, we're born into a certain family, and all families are unhappy, but we're all unhappy in our own way. So I don't know. There's also called the Atlas Society in the United States, or I think it's an international society. It used to be called the Objectivist Center. So, you or I or some of our listeners could go to the Atlas Society, and there are a bunch of frequently asked questions. And then they even have a psychotherapist named Michael Hurd, Hurd, who talks about things. And there's another woman, Ellen Kenner. So, it seems to still have a lot of ground here. And there are a lot of people, thinking and writing about some of the things that she set out. Now, she has since passed away, died in 1982. But her philosophy and some of her ideas live on and continue to engage us. I'm starting to feel calmer now.
Yeah, you are. Just don't have any coffee just yet.
No, I might have a friend that's going to meet me for coffee. We're going to eat coffee and a piece of pie. It's going to have a bunch of sugar in it. I'm going to be feeling really
I had
good
some
after.
beer. Yeah, the other day, I keep thinking now and then that each time I drink, I mean, first it feels good, right? 3 hours,
Right.
okay, fine. But then the night becomes unbearable. And each time I promise to myself, that was the last time I had ever drank that much. And each time I make the same mistake. I don't know what to do with that.
Well, that's why you're in
I'm an
aromatherapy.
alcoholic.
No, 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 no. No, there's different levels of alcoholism. Like, Dante has his different levels of hell and purgatory and all that. There's the alcoholics who just like they just want to black out. I know some blackout alcoholics, and some of the alcoholics just want to talk. When they drink, they just want to stand up on the back patio with a bunch of other people, and they don't even care if anybody's listening. They just like nonstop talk. So this one guy he's a federal attorney. He's on the back patio, and he refers to himself as a demigod, DEMIGOD. So he's an alcoholic. And then we have these girls who just come in like overdressed and too much perfume and too much makeup and too many high, heels are too high. And they're just looking for like someone to go home with or take them to a hotel. So, there's different levels to being an alcoholic. So I'm going to say you're probably okay. You were probably at home. You were probably sitting in a chair, right? And you had a glass. You weren't just drinking from the bottle, were you?
Well, the other day I had it from the bottle because I felt really thirsty. But then I thought, I'm acting in my own self-interest. How would that correspond to what Ayn Rand says? Am I contributing or I don't know, produce some kind of a gain for society or not, right? Because the mistakes I'm making, because I'm natural at my mistakes, they are not valid, whatever
They're
that
not what?
means.
What's the last word? They're not what?
Valid.
Valid. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that drinking a beer from a bottle is fine, but I have noticed so many people in Dallas do not use a coaster under their beer bottle. So I am trying I feel that one of my callings in life is to defend the boundaries of civilization. I'm kind of right there on the front. And so I'm trying to get beer drinkers and alcoholics to use a coaster under their drink. It's kind of a slow grind because a lot of people, they want to know, why am I putting a coaster under their drink? And I just try to explain that there's a difference between civilized drinking and barbaric drinking. And then they laugh. And then I say, why don't you subscribe to my channel? What channel? I go, Patroma Therapy. They go, what is it about? I said, it's about you. And then everybody laughs. And then they buy me a shot of tequila. How about that?
Yeah, I never use a coaster for a beer bottle.
Well, at home, do you at home you put a beer bottle on the furniture? That's like a sin. Women hate it when you mess their furniture up with a damn beer bottle ring. Have you thought about reforming some of your habits?
Yeah, but what if I drink wine? Should I have some kind of a bottle coaster as well?
No, wine, you should
Why?
be.
I know what's the difference.
No.
Bottle there and bottle here. One case I use bottle coaster and
Usually
another not.
Well, the wine goes in a glass, and then the glass goes in your hand. And then you should be like in Portofino, or you should be in, Acapulco. You should be drinking wine in a beautiful setting, and then you can do whatever you want. Because if you're living in Italy or if you're living in Acapulco, it doesn't matter. Because like you're surrounded by beauty, and no one cares.
I don't know. I thought that just makes you look fancy. I mean, if you use the coaster, because it's useless.
Well,
Absolutely.
that's called civilized behavior. Like what Freud would say, the id part of our personality just wants to guzzle the wine, just like a baby wants to guzzle the milk or guzzle the bottle. But we learn to drink from a sippy cup, and then we drink from a glass. And then I'm not sure how it is where you are, but all over Dallas, everybody's wandering around with their Starbucks cup or their Everyone's like, I think Dallas has an oral personality because everyone's always carrying a drink. There's babies have cups, kids in strollers have cups, women coming out of yoga classes have cups, guys driving Mercedes have cups. Everyone's always sipping on something. I sort of feel like at least Dallas is trapped at the oral fixation stage. Like we got to always have something in our mouth. Cigarettes, cigars. Have you ever smoked cigarettes or cigars?
No, I'm not a smoker. I just tried a few times and didn't understand, so I just gave up. But I'm thinking about these coasters. I'm thinking maybe some people I guess I saw them movie a few years ago. Some dude collected these coasters, like hundreds of them, because they look very beautiful with the bar's name on it and all colorful and stuff. And I thought if you're visiting bars often, you could collect them too.
Do you know who does that? Me. I have a coaster collection. I'm famous. People know me. I've got coasters from Frankfurt, from Paris, from Vienna, from Portland, from Brooklyn, from Dallas, from Houston. Like, I've got coasters from all over the world. Like, when I die, those are some of my prized possessions that my heirs will be fighting over. Who will get the mom's coaster collection?
Hey, why don't you just make a picture of them and we'll make an episode about your coasters?
That sounds good. I think that would be a great episode. And
yeah, you would explain, you would tell us where you get one or what that means, or from Germany or from Italy or from Turkey, I don't know, wherever you were. And that would be great to get to know that piece of history.
Well, that sounds very good. Well, we thank our subscribers for listening, and adios for now.
Yeah, and stay rational.